Hi, I'm T, and welcome back to my beginner scripting tutorial series. So here we have a part that changes color and changes size randomly. By the end of this video, you will have the knowledge to do something similar to this. So stay tuned. The possibilities are endless when it comes to manipulating your objects in your game. What I showed you was just a fraction of what's possible. Before I show you how to do this, we must first understand what properties even are. So when building a game, we just have a group of objects that come together to create what we see on the platform. So for example, we have our workspace that has the camera and all of the objects that make up the 3D space. Then we have Starter GUI, for example, which can house various UI elements. They all have their own properties. So typically, to start, when you build your game, you have parts, right? So parts have their own specific properties. So if I go to this part here, let's just create a new part, okay? And we'll name this first part. This part, as you can see, pulls up a specific properties window. Now, in this properties window, this is everything that you can manipulate within this part. Okay, let's say you're creating a game and you want to change the transparency of a part. How do I do that? I click the part and I go to the transparency property and I can adjust it here, right? So if I want the part to be completely invisible, I could change it all the way to 1, right? Or I can, do partly visible and so on and so forth. Now, this is pretty cool, right? I can change a lot of things. I can change the color, I can change a lot of things. I can change the, can collide. So let's go there. Let's go ahead and change can collide and let's see what that does. So if I turn can collide off, which I'll talk about this, we're going to talk about all of these different data types as well and how it connects together in a second. But let's go ahead and test this. So if I turn can collide off, oh my gosh, where did my part go? Obviously, can collide means that this part cannot collide with anything. It's pretty much just a part that just falls. Okay, so if I don't have anchor set to true, this thing is gonna pretty much just fall through the floor because you can't touch it. It doesn't collide with anything. As we can see, it fell all the way down there because we had our can collide set to false or off, right? So if we go to can collide, we can see that can collide's off. Now, with these check marks, with these properties that have check marks, we have on and off. So on equals true, right? And then off would equal false, okay? Now let's go ahead and turn on, let's do anchored. Anchored's a popular one. So with anchored, before it was falling. So now that anchored is on or true, we have it suspending in air because it's anchored, right? So this is great. Now, if you have a big game, obviously you don't want to do this for every single part, every single thing in your game, right? So that's where we have our script, and that's where, we can manipulate things with our script. So you can build it like this, and you can do everything by hand, but the bigger your game gets, the more difficult it's going to be to actually scale and manipulate all of the parts in your game. So let's go ahead and add a script. Okay, so now that we have our script, let's go ahead and reference this part. Now, we're talking about properties. So how do we actually reference our part? So we can do this a couple of ways. So you want to create a variable and initialize it to, let's go ahead and create first part is equal to what? Okay, we can do it this way, script.parent, or we can go game.workspace, right? Because we have game and then workspace, and we can go another level down and go to first part. Because now we have this level, we have the next level, and that's everything inside the workspace. Or we can do it this way, which I'll do it this way this time. Script.parent. Now, parent is actually a property of script. So if we go to script and look at its properties, we can see parent is a property here. So we see that first part is the parent of the script. Okay, so that's the reason why we can do this, because we're accessing the parent property and we're pretty much just saying set this variable equal to this part. So now that we have this, let's go ahead and do a few things here. Okay, so let's go ahead and make sure we have the right part. So let's get a property here that we know is specific to this one. We know the color of this one is sand blue. Okay, so let's go ahead and verify this. Let's go ahead and say first part dot BrickColor. Let's go ahead and print out that because we know it's sand blue. So let's see if it matches. Sand blue. Okay, perfect. So it matches. So we know that we actually have our part. Okay, so now that we know that we have our part, let's go ahead and change some properties within the code. So let's go ahead and change the anchored property. Now you're going to see something cool here, and we're going to connect this to the data types that we learned in the last video. So if we want to change anchored within the code, like I said, we can do it this way and go here and, manually do everything and go to anchored and turn that off or turn it back on. But we don't want to do that, okay? We don't want to set the properties manually for every single part, every single object in our game. What we want to do is reference first part, our variable first part. Let's say dot anchored property. Okay, so dot anchored, we know that's a property. Now let's say equals what? We said on off, right? Which is what? A Boolean, okay? So we can set that to true or false. Remember, on, true, false, off, okay? So that's how that works. So we're going to say anchored is equal to false, okay? And let's see what happens. Let's see what happens, okay? Let's go ahead and test this. Okay, so we can see that our part is currently suspended. Let's see what happens now that the anchored property is, okay, yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, so it falls to the ground because the anchored property is false, okay? Now that relates to that Boolean value. Now transparency is what? What do you think transparency is? So if I go to transparency, what is the data type of transparency? Okay, and what we're going to do too is do TypeOf for all of this to verify everything. That way it makes sense, okay? Let's go ahead and print this out. Let's see what it is. Boolean, okay. So that's true. And then let's go ahead and do this again. After, comment this out. Okay. So let's go ahead and change it to transparency. Now that you've taken a guess. So what do you think we're going to do? What is it? Okay. So what do we want to do? Let's make it invisible. So transparency, invisibility will be 1. So it is fully transparent. That's what you want to think about. Fully transparent. You can't see it. And 0 is going to be not transparent at all. Okay. So it's a level of transparency. So 1 is going to be gone. It's gone, but it's still there. It's still there. Okay. So now let's go ahead and verify just because. Let's do transparency. We saw it, but I want you to see it. This is how you do it. This is how you check your work. Every time you do something, check it. Best practice is going to be run a few lines of code, create a few lines of code, and then you want to test your work. That way you don't, run into unexpected bugs. Okay. So Boolean number, perfect. Now let's go do a new one. Okay. So let's see. We have our color 3. So we have color here, which is a color 3 data type. So let's go ahead and access our color. First part dot color is equal to. So this is going to be different. We have to do color 3 dot new. We can do it this way or from RGB. Let's do dot new. And then, so our color values are going to be from 0 through 255. So if I do 0, 0, 0, but are we actually changing the color? Let's see. First part dot color. Okay, so we have dot color is equal to color 3 dot new. Let's see what happens. Oh, we can't see anything. We can't see anything because of this. Let's change this back to 0. See, just like that, I can change it just like that. I don't have to manually go through here and do all that crap. There we go. We have a black part. Okay. Now, if I want to change the anchor property, let's make a black part that is suspended in air, and it's going to be halfway transparent. Let's do 0.5. Let's see what that looks like. Boom. Just like that. Already done. Okay. Now, how do we get to looking like this? Because you can see the colors changing, which we've done. We can see that it's suspended, which we've done. And you can see that the size is changing too, which we have not done. So let's go ahead and change size as well. Let's add another one. And let's change size. Okay. So we have size here as well as a property. and you can see that this is X, Y, Z. Okay, so let's go ahead and do first part dot size is equal to, so this is different. So this is a vector 3. Okay, that's another data type. So we have vector 3, which just think of it as a 3-dimensional value. Okay, so we're doing X, Y, and Z. So let's do vector 3 dot new. Same thing with color 3. It's similar. And we're going to do X. Let's do 5 by 5 by 5. Okay, so we're doing 5X, Y, Z. Now what's going to happen? You know what this is. If every dimension is 5, what is it going to be? A square. Let's go. Okay, so we just changed that as well. Now let's go ahead and go back and let's verify our type of what these things are. So let's see. That way, you can see. So we're going to check our work and we're going to see dot size. Okay, and then we're going to see dot color. Okay, we're going to see what these are. What is this? Color 3 data type, vector 3 data type. Okay, so that's correct. So we're we're rolling. Okay, you guys can see how cool this stuff is. So instead of manually, changing properties, we can do it in code, and it's so much faster, so much cleaner. Now, I want you guys, this is going to be the project for today. Okay, I want you guys to try to create this. Now, as you can see, let's go ahead and break this down. That way I can help you out. So we can see that, now we haven't talked about loops really, but we can see every interval of some time, the color and the size changes. And does it look like it's consistent? No, it's random. Okay, I'll tell you that. It's a hint. So we have the color and the size changing randomly every specific amount of time. So how I want you to think about this, I want you to think about it like, okay, every, let's say, second, I change the color and I change the size, and it constantly does it. This never stops. Okay, so we have something that is indefinite, and there's a time interval per loop. Okay, and within that loop, we have the size changing and we have the color changing randomly. Okay, now I want you to create this. Okay, go ahead and see if you can recreate this yourself. That'll be your homework, and I'll just give you a tip. Look up random on Roblox. Okay, just look up random. Just type in random value, random whatever, Roblox, and see if you can figure it out. Okay, now please use the Roblox documentation if you guys are getting stuck. Leave a comment down below if you guys need more help. But I think based on what we talked about today, you guys should be able to do this. Also, look up loops on the documentation too. That should help you out. But I will have the answer in the comments. Just please don't cheat, okay? Please try to do the work and post your code down below. Now, if this video was helpful to you guys, be sure to drop a like and sub. I will catch you guys in the next episode. Peace out.